This live stream is presented by Hickman Automotive Group, the most trusted name in automotive and proudly supporting Newfoundland and Labrador for 120 years. Choose Hickman for your next gasoline, diesel, or electric vehicle. Family drives everything. All right, welcome back to live stream number 2 of the evening. This one probably a little more informal. Just chat about what's going on, what I know has happened thus far, what I think is going to happen as we progress through the remainder of the overnight and tomorrow, and a little bit about thereafter. But I think more or less I'll just kind of hang out, go through the current situation a bit, and just answer questions as they come in. We will start with Doris Butler. And Doris says, when is this storm expected to move off the island? That's a good question. It will do that overnight, but we won't see massive improvements until I think like mid to late day tomorrow. Someone said the fish plant is on fire in St. Mary's on X. That is horrid news if that's the case. Oh man. There is Flying Baloney, Middle Cove Road, Andrew Stack. Bologna Gale. One of my favorites. So again, we'll take a look at what's going on out there now, and this should give you kind of an idea of where the highest wind speeds are currently located. Once this graphic runs through, I'll start to move it around and hopefully not make everybody sick. And so we are watching this area of low pressure, which is essentially now like right over Goobies. And around it, the wind is quite strong on the south side, coming from the west and eventually southwest and eventually south. And then on the north side, we're seeing the circulation like that, and there's also some storm surge happening up on the in Bonavista Bay already. And we'll get there in just a second too. But right now, the highest winds are in this core somewhere in here. This is where the highest winds are located. It's not windy at all in here under the low. It's much like, it's not a hurricane, but it's much like the eye of a hurricane. The center of a low is not where it's windy. It's where the air is essentially funneling and then gets lifted up. It's on the peripheries of the lows where we see the high wind speeds. And the wind has been exceptionally high for southern areas of the Avalon Peninsula. So this is Cape St. Mary's down here. This side has Cape Pine, this side has Cape Race, and for meme purposes, I won't draw a third circle on that map. And so we've seen some exceptionally high wind speeds. So Trepassey and Powell's Head Lighthouse has a high gust of 171 so far this evening. And Cape St. Mary's had 172. I imagine down around the Cape Pine area is also quite similar. If I switch sources, give me 1 second, we can actually take a look at what the wind speeds are actually doing from the latest observation. So we'll switch over here. And so this is a map from WeatherLink, and all these little dots here are weather stations. And so if I click on it, it'll bring up the actual current info. So right now, at the Powell's Head Light Station, the winds are sustained 143.5 from the south. That's outrageous. Look at the bulletin, it'll tell us what the gusts are. So the daily high is 170.6. The last 2-minute gust is 154. And over the last 10 minutes, there's been a gust to 171. This is well into category 2 hurricane strength. This is outrageous. This is flipping outrageous stuff here. But it was well forecast. Hopefully the wind speeds in that area, they should begin to come down kind of soon. Wait for that to repopulate. I'm going to zoom out again. So there's St. Shots down there. St. Mary's, I don't believe that wind speed necessarily. But speaking of St. Shots, so this is the Cape Pine Light Station. Okay, so this was last online this evening at 6:43. So I'm going to guess the wind took it out. And at that point, 128.7, which is Cat 1 hurricane winds. And I think the highest wind speed recorded down there was the high of the day, 156.1, before I guess it went offline. And I know there's a weather station as well down at Cape St. Mary's. And I don't know what that one is showing. So I talked about St. Shots a minute ago, right? We spoke earlier this evening in depth about my concern for storm surge in here and storm surge in here. And this is the view from St. Shots earlier. Just want to make sure I have the right one. Hang on a second before I run the wrong one here. Okay. I want to go back. All right, so this is the view from St. Shots earlier. And I got this video from Glenn Lake on Facebook. And I asked Glenn in a message, essentially like, is that the highest he's ever seen it? And he said it's the highest he's seen in quite some time. So there's the water there coming over what looks to be, the wharf there, and then there's the water coming in. From what I also understand, the water has come over the breakwater down in Trapassi. Now, I haven't had that confirmed just yet, but that's what I've heard. The other side of this, and we'll get there in a second, is we're already seeing surge further north, which is earlier than I thought we were going to see it around Bonavista Bay. So what you're looking at here, the latest wind gust, 78 St. John's. We gusted too close to 110 in St. John's earlier. So it's slowed down a bit, but it is, I think, going to pick back up. Right now in St. John's, we're sustained 52. Argentia is sustained at 69. Sagona Island back to the north now at 109. And wind speeds elsewhere aren't overly impressive. But the area of low pressure here is quite impressive. And it's actually, the pressure in there is quite low. Exceptionally low, actually. So if you're a weather nerd like me, you keep an eye on low pressures, right? Low pressure readings. And so these are the latest observations from Environment Canada. And what you're looking at here, where it says pressure in kilopascals, so that's the barometric pressure reading. Now, I like to talk about pressure in millibars. Now, it could be because that's how I went through it in university. But basically, a kilopascal and a millibar are similar. So a millibar, we just move the decimal place over, right? So a millibar would be 947 millibars. And so that's how pressure records are kept. And this is why this is important. So Argentia right now measuring a barometric pressure 947 millibars. Burin Peninsula 979 millibars. Badger 969 millibars. I'm not seeing anything under that. 956 at the airport in St. John's. This pressure is exceptionally low. right? So air pressure goes down as you go up in the atmosphere. So the air pressure right now is so low that it's essentially like going up about 1,000 feet. If you were just to walk up 1,000 feet, that's essentially the difference in air pressure from normal at the moment. Maybe not quite that much, but somewhere around there. Now, why is this important? Here's why. So this here is an interesting map. So this is from the Weather Prediction Center down in the States, and they actually keep records of barometric pressure minimums in any given month of the year. And I know this map looks confusing. So where you see 556 here, 628, we would add a 9 in front of that and put a decimal after that last number. So this would be 955.6. This would be 961.8. This is 971.4 over in here. So that means the lowest pressure in November on record is 971.4 for the Avalon Peninsula and 961.8 for the rest of 961.8 to 961.5 for the rest of Newfoundland, the Northern Peninsula, where it's 960.2 and then 959.1. And so we're 947, which means this is the lowest pressure ever recorded in November in Atlantic Canada. And potentially, like, we're looking here across the rest of North America, and it might be a record across most of North America, or at least I should say Canada and parts of North America and Alaska. So it's an exceptionally strong storm. We know it's windy, right? You can see the winds there in the bottom corner of your screen. As I bring up the Newfoundland power outage map, we have some significant power outages right now, basically almost island-wide. I suspect the power outages on the west coast are likely due to snow. Now, we knew it was going to snow, just didn't think it was going to snow as low as it is snowing. And it's snowing across like the western half of Newfoundland tonight. Some kids make it a bit of a snow day tomorrow. But when it comes to Newfoundland Power, I don't have a question, Alex. I'll take Jeopardy for 200. When it comes to the icons here, right, they mean basically red is essentially anywhere where the customer is greater than 1,000 customers without power. And so we can zoom in and we can see that there's a fair size outage. Looks like in Mount Pearl. Over 1,000 customers without power. And then a second one, again in Mount Pearl, over 1,200 customers without power. And a few smaller outages throughout the rest of the metro. But they're scattered across the island and likely all due to severe weather. So when it comes to down power lines, mind the line, don't touch it. Let the folks in Newfoundland Power deal with it. If you need to get a hold of them for any particular reason, go ahead and call 1-800-474-5711 if you need to call Newfoundland Power for any particular reason. If you see down line or your power's out. So certainly something to keep in mind there. The other thing is we can look at the wave heights offshore. So there's only one active buoy right now that I know is working for shore, and this is east of St. John, so just outside of the harbor. Currently, winds just offshore are sustained 45 knots, which is 80-ish kilometers an hour. Gusting 62, which is just over 100 kilometers per hour. And the wave heights offshore peaking at 8.4 meters or 27.6 feet. And the significant wave height is about 16 feet. So waves are quite large. And again, that's my concern for southern areas of the Avalon is the large waves and the potential of the storm surge. And as we talked about before, there is that storm surge warning. A lot of folks want to know when the winds are going to come down. Well, we went through kind of fast, but the winds stay up overnight and they'll really begin to ramp down for the metro area. It looks like tomorrow afternoon. Speaking of that, let's see what the flights look like for tomorrow morning. I imagine that if you're flying tomorrow morning, you're probably not flying tomorrow morning. So I'll pull this up now real quick. So here is the list of flights for St. John's International Airport. As I suspected, this 12:45 to Halifax was canceled. 5:14 to Toronto was canceled. These are departures or arrivals? Those are arrivals. So departures. Okay. So this starts tomorrow morning now, 5 o'clock. So the 5 a.m. flight tomorrow is canceled. To Toronto, 5:05 a.m. flight tomorrow morning to Montreal is canceled. Porter flight Halifax listed on time. Porter to Ottawa is canceled. Toronto tomorrow morning, Air Canada 687 canceled. Air Canada to Halifax canceled, and it looks like stuff showing on time in their second half day tomorrow. I'm not surprised because essentially what happens is when the winds are high enough, can't land, probably can't take off. And when the winds are also over a certain speed, you can't open the plane doors, the cargo doors. So that's also an issue. Jeremy Janes, just looking at some of the comments now. 982 millibars. Brian Butt said Trapassi, and what I just read, the sea wall has been broken through. Wow. I'm not surprised to hear that. It is something I was concerned about for sure. Kind of was raising that alarm earlier today. I don't have anything from Trapassi yet, but if anybody has any firm details, let me know. So there's future wind gusts. Again, the winds are going to continue to be up. That was a good one. I'm in the basement. I can hear that. They'll be up through the overnight. So, if you don't like the wind, you're not going to like the night, but they shouldn't be as high as they were earlier. They should eventually start to come down as the core of high wind speed with the low begins to pull away. But the winds will markedly slow down tomorrow during the day and during the second half of the day at that. And then we have the wind warning up for many areas from the northern peninsula to the Avalon to the southwest coast to some point during the day tomorrow. Okay, so this brings me to my next thing, is the storm surge warning. So we got coastal flood statements for Labrador and much of Newfoundland, but we've got the storm surge warning for the perimeter of Placentia Bay, Trapassi Bay, St. Mary's Bay, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, so this is Placentia Bay, this here is St. Mary's Bay, and this here is Trapassi Bay. And there's Biscay Bay somewhere down here too. I'm concerned that this area is seeing significant coastal flooding right now. So that is my concern. And luckily we're now past high tide, so hopefully we're on the tail end of it, or at least it's not as bad. But again, I've heard it did, the seawall has broken through from a couple different sources now. Snowing in Lassie right along the coast, says Josh Bath. Still power in Deer Lake for now, thank goodness. Yeah, this is quite a storm. It really is quite a storm. I should get the radar up actually before we go here this evening. Okay, so this is the other thing. So the storm surge warning is up for Bonavista Bay, which is right here, and then this is like Notre Dame Bay down in here. Glovertown Gambo had a storm surge event last January, I think. And I think they're getting one here again tonight. And here's why. I got this. This is from Troy Witt, this video. And that is from Gambo earlier this evening. Now, Troy, tad close to the water maybe, but the waves aren't huge. They're just, the water's coming up slowly, so we're not gonna give him too much. I'm not gonna give him any guff over that. I don't want anyone here to do that either. It's good to get this information because now we know lights just flickered. That there's storm surge in that area, and so this will fluctuate and ebb and flow with the tide over the next couple of days. But essentially, what happens is, as the winds are going to be on shore for the next couple of days on the north coast, northeast coast, north-facing shores, you get what's called tidal run-up. And so, you have your high tide come in, it's high. The wind stays on shore, you get low tide, but the low tide is higher than it should be. Next high tide subsequently higher than the last one, and so on and so forth until the water has a chance to basically get pushed back offshore. Uh, and so that's something to be mindful of in this area here, because look at this. High tides Wednesday through Friday may be above normal. We may be dealing with storm surge, so something to kind of keep in mind. And the other thing of note is the waves are going to be very large. Stay away, stay further back from the ocean than you think. Not so much where we saw that video from Troy, but if you're someone that's going to go to Middle Cove tomorrow, or out to Flat Rock or CBS, anywhere where you can see the waves, and I know like the cliche thing is to say, don't go near the ocean. Don't go look at the waves. I know you're going to go look at the waves. Heck, I'm probably going to go look at the waves. I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm just going to say if you want to do it, stay very far back, very, very far back, because water levels can fluctuate rapidly in situations like this, and it can come up without warning. So very, very far back if you want to go look, and just do it as safe as you can. Do not get near the water. That's the very important thing. Don't get near the water. What is the forecast for Port Basque? Okay, so Goldie Porter asked a good question. And I should probably do something on this tomorrow. I'll just get this one up on the screen for now. So we'll leave this one up for now because I don't want to forget it. We'll come back to it here in a second. Here's the other thing. So we have the rainfall warning, right? Rain, we need rain. Not the biggest deal. Snow is expected, but not like this. So let's see what it looks like. TCH Corner Brook now. Oh, looks like the plows are out. I would say, based on what I was saying in the forecast, I don't think most people were ready for this much snow. And this was taken near Deer Lake by Melissa Abbott earlier. Now, listen to this. This video was taken in Massey Drive earlier. Now, I'm going to mute the music because I don't know if it's copyrighted or not. And I don't want to get banned here from Facebook. And so check this out. That's Massey Drive earlier tonight. Look at that. That's, I think, Jake the dog, having a wicked old time in the snow. I mean, snowfall warning's up for like 20 centimeters. That's Massey Drive. So Massey Drive, higher elevations around Corner Brook. I've seen snow from Millertown. My in-laws are getting snow in Bishop's Falls, so it's snowing. So something to kind of keep in mind. It's snowing. All right, so we can go back to the question at hand here. So why is this not a hurricane? All right, let's see. I can leave this up for a minute and see what if I can find anything online real quick. Hurricane versus. No, I could explain it, but if I can get an infographic, that'd be the easiest thing to do. Let's see what I can find. Okay, compare and contrast. Let's see what this one says. I actually like this one. All right. So I'm going to, let's see. Here we are. All right, so let's go here. All right, so let's see what this says. I've used this site before. So compare and contrast mid-latitude cyclone and hurricane. Okay, so mid-latitude cyclone is what we're getting right now. It's a low that's driven by essentially variations in temperature. Hurricanes are not. And so this goes to show that this says that this writing will look at the comparison and contrast between mid-latitude cyclones, what we're getting now, difference in air masses, warm, cold, and hurricanes. Hurricanes are a subset of genre of tropical system type storms. Other names for tropical system type storms include cyclones, hurricanes, tropical storms, barotropic lows, and typhoons. The intensity of the storm and the region it occurs on Earth will influence how it is labeled. Mid-latitude cyclones are typically referred to as the same name of mid-latitude. cyclones, but are called low pressure systems and baroclinic lows. So baroclinic, if I recall from meteorology, is using differences in temperature, which help drive low strength, and barotropic mean there are no differences in temperature. Both mid-latitude cyclones and hurricanes tend to have the lowest pressure toward the center of the circulation. They both rotate in the same direction for the hemisphere they occur in. They rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Each of these types of storms can produce heavy rains, and the circulation can last for many days as it moves over Earth's surface. There are several differences between mid-latitude cyclones and hurricanes. First, hurricanes typically have liquid precipitation that reaches the surface, except for the possibility of hail. While mid-latitude cyclones can include wintry precipitation such as snow, freezing rain, and sleet, aka ice pellets. Hurricanes do not have fronts, barotropic systems, while mid-latitude cyclones will commonly have a cold front and warm front, baroclinic zones. Hurricanes have a very unique environment right at the center of the circulation. The weather can be sunny with light wind at the center of the circulation of a hurricane, while the weather tends to be cloudy or stormy at the center of a mid-latitude cyclone. Mid-latitude cyclones can develop over and strengthen over either water or land, while hurricanes develop over water, and hurricanes weaken once they move on land. The fuel source for a hurricane is warm water, while the fuel source for mid-latitude cyclone is temperature gradient. So gradient is a fancy word for how quickly the temperature changes with distance. Hurricanes develop in the tropics, while mid-latitude cyclones develop in the mid-latitudes and polar regions. Okay, so are we getting the gist of it here? Let's see, just looking at a couple comments. Okay, so compare and contrast. All right, so compare. Lowest pressure in center, counterclockwise rotation, northern hemisphere. Heavy precip can last for several days. So hurricanes, there's no winter precip in them. Hurricanes are barotropic, meaning the temperature around them is uniform, right? So it's warm all the way around. If I were to pull up a temperature map around our low, it's warm on the east side-ish, cool in the north, cool in the west. It's the moving around of the air masses that fuels these types of systems. And the bigger that differential, the stronger the systems can be. Hurricane fuel is latent heat release, which means, how do I want to say this? Latent heat release is when raindrops form, it's when precipitation evaporates, it takes energy, so it's a cooling process. When precipitation forms, it gives energy, a warming process. So when we have rain forming, it actually will warm up the atmosphere in some percentage. And so that's how hurricanes get their fuel. It's the release of the precipitation formation that drives the heat, subsequently drives the storm. And the mid-latitude cyclone is the fuel gradient. Temperature is the fuel gradient. Wow. The fuel is the thermal gradient. That's what I want to say. It's getting late. So that's where we are. And so just timing everything out as we go through the overnight. We'll move on kind of quickly here now. Tomorrow morning, most of the snow is done, but it's still going in some areas. Temperatures are still going to be cool, maybe off by a degree or two. And then for the day tomorrow, temperatures should warm up a little bit. I don't think the snow is going to stick around. You folks in Labrador, you're going to get into a pretty not great weather pattern here. Rain and snow move in tomorrow evening, and that will likely persist into Friday. And speaking of Friday, looks like Thursday night, Friday, eastern, southeastern Newfoundland, going to see more snow or rain, excuse me, maybe ending as a bit of wet snow from another area of low pressure. Is that why the air? So, Steph, I can't pronounce that. Is that why the air is so dry, static in winter? Yes, partially, because, well, the air in the winter is from the continent. And so it's cold, and cold air does not hold a lot of moisture. And so even like a real humid cold day, the moisture in the air is fractional compared to like what it would be in a summer day. So yes, when the air is Arctic, it's very dry, and you can get a nice buildup of static electricity. The wind, about an hour. Okay. So Angela Power just said something interesting. The wind went down in southeast Placentia for an hour, and now it's back up and it's higher than all day, right? And that is because, give me a moment here. Give me a moment. Actually, you know what? We'll just, instead of doing this, we'll do this. I will rely on an external source. Trusty old Windy. So here's why. All right. So if we can go back to, if I can put this back up again. So the wind down in southeast Placentia went down for an hour, and now it's higher than it is all day. Okay, right? So why did that happen? Okay, so here's the low, modeled 946 millibars. Right, where is it? Here's Placentia. Here's the low. We go back a little bit. Let's see if we can go back to 4 or 5 o'clock. Can I go back there? Okay. Say, I'm going to go to 6 o'clock. Let's see if I can get to 6 o'clock. This is frustrating. Will that work? Okay, there we go. So 6 p.m., where's the low? Right? The low is moving in. And so what you see here are isobars, right? So that when you're in the middle of those isobars that are tightly packed, you're getting the wind, because this is showing you what the pressure is in the low center relative to the pressure outside of it. So this is a very strong area of low pressure, and those isobars spread apart as you get away from the low, although it's still pretty windy to the south. This low is actually like the strongest one, like probably on the planet right now. But as we zoom in, right? This was 6 o'clock. Where's the low? Burin Peninsula. You know, you're not quite in that real tight pressure gradient, but now we jump ahead to almost 10 o'clock. Where's the low? Right? Potentially somewhere up in here. Look at the pressure gradient. So the wind is probably, not only is it stronger, probably changed direction, right? Because the low has passed you now, or is close to passing you. And I almost guarantee if I pull up the observations from Argentia, that's exactly what happened, right? So we are west-southwest gust 85. Look at this, okay? 5:30, winds were south, gusting 81. Now we're west gusting 73. So the low has passed. Barometric pressure is coming up. So it's 952, 952, up from 947. So the barometric pressure is coming up, means the low has passed Argentia. So where it is probably not a bad thing. So Bonavista, pressure's probably lowering. Oh, look at that. Not there. But I would imagine, let's see if we can find maybe Greats Cove. Let's see, Cape Race. Low has not quite, Cape Race the pressure, well, it's still dropping, but it's not measuring anything right now. If we can go to Greats Cove, no pressure showing. How do we not have pressure readings from any of these places? It's just a bit frustrating, isn't it? Isn't it? All right. So, you know, that's not surprised to see that happen. Cat came out to pay me a visit here now. Okay, so I think I've pretty well gone over a whole bunch of stuff tonight. I'll see if I can find any more questions to answer. But just flew from Alberta. The weather is pretty dynamic here. Yeah, wait till the winter. This is enough. You ain't seen nothing. I mean, this is a pretty good storm, but winter storms are pretty fun. This one, I want to get. I'm looking for some. I'm looking for some snow. We're not there yet. So yeah. So I wouldn't say it's a lazy hurricane. This is like if we look at the strongest storm, so where is this one? So basically it's a lazy hurricane. Um so like if I pull up this chart once again and we look at like windy, let's see if we can back the view out. So this is showing us the entire planet right now, right? Does anybody here see a pressure that's below 948? I don't. So right now, strongest storm on the planet, right over Newfoundland. I don't like to use, I'm not one that likes to use those like big, I don't know, clicky baity headlines, but that's pretty neat that it is. I mean, I'm not surprised. The one I don't like is weather bomb. I don't like bombogenesis is a term for it that I'm okay with, but like weather bomb, like I could rant on that for a while. It's scaring people unnecessarily. I never mentioned Clarenville. Daphne Slaney. Well, Daphne, I'm sorry about that. Now to be fair, probably didn't mention most places. Um, but Clarenville is probably right now not seeing a whole lot. You're probably right under the low. And the winds are going to pick up there. The rain is raining. Oh, the rain is raining. Um, let's see if I can pull up the. I'll just um, pull up the radar real quick. See what we can find. See if you can see any cool stuff on the radar before I say goodnight. And probably my morning update's probably not going to be super early tomorrow morning. Um, but I will be up. That's what I'm looking for. This one I'm looking for? You can go with this one. How about this one? Let's see. What am I looking for? I am trying to get to you. And now here. Come on now. Come on now. There we go. All right. So this is pretty cool. Look at this. Look at the swirl. There's the low. You can actually see it on the radar like perfectly. So low on the radar right now. I mean, look at the circulation. You don't see this very often. This is pretty wild stuff. Is right here. So there's the center of the low. It looks like it's working to the southwest side of Trinity Bay at the moment. A little bit of an eastward kind of tick to it there. I think perhaps we may be able to spot the wind speed if I bring up the velocities. Let's see. I wonder if I can do one that's a little easier for people to spot. Ah, here we are. Okay. This one's a bit easier. All right. Is there a dynamic legend here? Associated legend. Okay, so not really. Okay, so what we're looking at here is basically it says live radar, but this is it's wind velocity, right? So you're basically looking at wind going towards or away from the radar. You would use this in severe weather situations to track where tornadoes could be. Don't worry, we're not having any tornadoes. But what we can do is try and pick out some wind cores with this and see where the winds are highest. Now, we're not going to see the winds on the surface. These are wind speeds aloft. So what I'm going to pull up here, probably not, we're not getting all of that wind, but we are certainly getting some of it. And so off the surface here, the wind around St. John's is basically about 119 kilometers per hour, which likely corresponds to gusts right now close to 100. In Placentia, winds are 92 kilometers per hour where the radar is picking up those velocities. So again, winds there are probably in the same vicinity. Now, the other thing is to keep in mind here as well is that the radar beam goes off at an angle. So the further away I click here, essentially the higher up in the atmosphere we're seeing, and the less likely that wind is to be relevant to your area or to you. And so we can kind of see where the wind core is by looking at this. What the winds are down here. Yeah, so Colonette, top of St. Mary's Bay, winds are still pretty high. Maybe they've slacked off a bit for the Southern Avalon, but we're still seeing some fairly high wind speeds around this area here. And I wonder if I set this into motion, I might be able to see. That's going to twist around because the winds are changing. It's kind of neat to see. That's always kind of neat to see. So we'll go back to this now. So there's the radar, right? Here's our low. Raining pretty good now, still over the Avalon Peninsula. Clarenville looks like it's not raining for you at the moment. Light rain in Bonavista, Vista, and then we get back to the west, and we're still seeing the heavy snowfall inland and kind of over the higher terrain. And we can see that nicely there. As the precipitation rates begin to slack off, we might see that snow changing back to rain along the west coast. But like, this is doing a pretty good job of depicting where the rain snow line probably is. It's somewhere out on the coast or close to it. Like Bay of Islands certainly is rain. But like I would say most of this area is certainly seeing snow, especially up in the high terrain. That will again linger into the morning hours tomorrow. Um, Even some snow showing up now in the Burin Peninsula. I can pull up the temperatures. See, now I'm getting geeky again. I want temperature contour. I just want temperature plot. Here we go. This will show us the actual temperatures now. So 3 degrees, St. Lawrence 4 in Winterland, Branch Hill, Marystown. So looks like Deer Lake is up to 2 degrees. Corner Brook is at 1. Definitely raining on Stephenville and Bay St. George area. It's 4. Millertown 0. 4 degrees. Looks like we're up to 4 in Gander. So temperatures in Gander have gone up. So it's likely just no more snow there. 6 degrees in Terra Nova and Bonavista Vista. 4 degrees down in Sagona Island. So snow does now seem to be more limited to Western Newfoundland, Green Bay, White Bay area. But again, like Northern Peninsula, 0 degrees St. Anthony, getting a bit of, it's probably what, in Farrell Point, or yeah, or in Glee. 3 degrees there, that might be Farrell Point. And then 2 degrees down further on the peninsula. And so, yeah, so kind of neat to see that. We'll set this in motion once more. But either way, I think I'm going to call it an evening here. So takeaway is it's going to be windy for a while yet. We're not done with the wind, but we should soon enough be done with the extremely high wind speeds. So that is the thing to keep in mind is we should be done shortly with the extremely high wind speeds, and we should be able to at least hopefully not see a whole lot more in the way of the power outages and whatnot. So something to kind of watch for. Anyway, okay, Newfoundland Bulletin just posted about a fish plant fire in St. Mary's. Our tide on Placentia Breakwater wasn't too bad, very rough water. Okay, this was my thought earlier today. I was more or less concerned with areas east of Placentia Bay, based on what I was looking at last night. Is it gonna be much worse tomorrow? No, tomorrow should be not as bad as today. It's gonna be windy, but we shouldn't see as much rain as today. Talking to my uncle, like he was Coast Guard, 100 knots was clocked on Green Island and Fortune Bay. That's not surprising. Green Island and Fortune Bay is one of the windiest spots probably in the province for some reason. It's always like they're in the wreck house seem to take the cake for wind. And I just realized I'm like half on camera, half off camera. So that's, where we are at with that. So, why does it say higher night? The winds might pick up in the Port aux Basques area overnight. They might not. Here, I'll tell you what. We'll do this. We'll do a little exploring. Glenda Evans says that. So we can go. So this is a cool site for those that don't know. It's called spotwx.com. And now you're getting a lot of model data, but I use the site a lot. So now we're gonna see why the winds are what the forecast is for Port aux Basques. So here's the wind forecast for Port aux Basques. It does show the winds picking up after midnight or so, gusting close to 100 and staying gusting to 90 through most of the day and then falling quickly to looks like Thursday, not till Thursday. And look, there's some snow in the forecast. For the St. John's area, for the metro, again, I kind of showed the same thing. Well, wouldn't that be nice? Wrong St. John's, Edward. So for the St. John's area, it shows the winds peaking, like they already peaked this evening, it looks like. We might get another peak 4 or 5 in the morning with gusts close to 110, 112, and then a slow decrease into Thursday. But like, look, the wind stays up like into Thursday. So like the wind is not gonna slack off like very quickly. This is like very much like a winter storm. Um, we can click on Trapassi just to um, make sure that my forecast thoughts for here are correct. 122. Yeah, the winds there they'll stay up, but they shouldn't be as strong. We can check on the weather stations down there once again real quick. And Powell's Head went offline. Looks like a little while ago. So we lost power down there. It looks like not good. But anyway, I'll keep a close eye on everything, and I'll give it a good check here, and I'll post a couple things here before I go to bed. But I'm going to call it on here shortly. And Charmaine Drudge, forecast for Corner Brook and Stephenville for tomorrow. Probably flurries or rain showers in the morning, and then decent in the afternoon, but still windy. I would say, if you guys want to know what the forecast is, Gander's going to see rain overnight, Amy, for sure. Charmaine, like I just said. Best thing to do is you get the app. You can look up your whole area. You can look up whatever location you want. And you forecast hour by hour and your 7-day in more detail than I can tell you right now. So that's what I recommend for the moment. Get the app, and you can also check the website. I think in the morning I have a whole bunch of like regions on the website that will actually like show you what the forecast is for your area. I don't know how many of you actually check this out or not. So lots of questions. So here's a cool thing. So if you go to my website, sheerweather.ca, you click on this forecast dropdown. It won't look the same on the desktop, but it's on mobile too. Look at all the regions that are here. So if you click on any of these regions, the South Coast, right? So there's your South Coast forecast. Harvard Breton, that's, I think, for tomorrow, 9 degrees. Now, that could be for today. That might not update till 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. But you go there tomorrow morning, all these will be updated and fresh. And that should not say Saturday. So I have to go look into why that hasn't changed. And the temperatures are way wrong on that one. I will go look at that. So like you can, all the drop downs, and I'll actually like add to these. So like here I have the Avalon, right? This is for tomorrow. This is for today, but at 6 a.m. it'll go to tomorrow. And you get that one. If you go to Eastern Newfoundland, ready for this? Are you ready for this? You get Northeast Newfoundland, Eastern Newfoundland 7-day, Burin Peninsula 7-day. It's like Oprah. You get a 7-day, you get a 7-day, everybody gets a 7-day. The app also has a 7 days. Also got the map room. So this is like updated almost in real time. So it'll tell you like what the wind speed is. I don't have the gusts here, but I can get them. I'll put that up tomorrow. Wind chill, satellite, radar imagery, like all sorts of cool stuff. And then the road cams, which you're not going to see a whole lot now, but snow looks like it's melted in Gander. Springdale, it is dark. Corner Brook, it is snowy. Birch Narrows, not as snowy. Black Duck Siding, it is raining. So use those resources. I put a lot of effort into getting everything kind of ready to start sheer weather, and this is, I think, probably underutilized. I need to adjust it a bit, but I know that a lot of folks want to see their own 7-day, and now you have one with graphics and all. Alrighty. Sonia Parrott, thanks. Just only app. So 70,000 downloads. Now, one thing about the app, again, I send out notifications, and I send a lot of them. If you don't want to hear the notifications, even if your phone's on silent, you still might hear it. They go into the app, hit the 3 dots on the right, settings, notification sounds, and you can turn them on or off. The ones that I send out, sheer weather push alerts. So you can turn them on or turn them off. But you'll still get the like a silent one. You just won't get the actual noise. But I think the noise is for safety purposes because sometimes weather can be life-threatening. Anyway, one more time before I go tonight. Thank you to my, been on for almost an hour now. Sponsor, Hickman Motors Limited, or Hickman Automotive Group, I should say. Hickman Automotive Group. Big thank you to them. And really, I'd like to thank all the businesses that have I've done business with, and I will do business with, and I'm doing business with. that sponsor website, forecast videos, the app. It's how I'm able to do this, how I'm able to give you the information, people of the province, forecast information as well as I can by local businesses who want to sponsor, get their business seen. And if you're interested in that, check out the website and you can shoot me an email. Always happy to talk about business opportunities. Yeah, so that enables me to give you the forecast for free. And that's essentially my goal, and to provide the province with very important weather information when the time calls. So thank you very much for watching this evening. First of many live streams, right? This is why part of the reason I wanted to start this is because I know there's a need for this. It's not easy all the time. It's been a very long day, but there's a need for information like this when the weather is like it is, and I'm happy to do it. It's why I do what I do, and it's why I started doing what I was doing when I was a teenager. And so here I am. A little bit less hair now. Kids have taken that from me. It's a good trait, I suppose. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Thank you. Trusted name in automotive and proudly supporting Newfoundland and Labrador for 120 years. Choose Hickman for your next gasoline, diesel, or electric vehicle. Family drives everything.